Hey everyone, so it's Apprentice Fletcher. I am back. I've been doing a lot of videos recently that haven't been quite too terribly educational. I've had quite a few rants. And um, I'm going to get a little bit more towards the educational type stuff. So what I decided is that I am going to do a series of videos on the signs, do a sign on each video, just to kind of discuss what's going on with each sign. And if you do have the sign in your natal chart, it's quite helpful. Most people will only know what their sun sign is. I personally think it's extremely important to learn your rising and your moon as well. It's just helpful to know where all of them are. I've been learning a lot about myself because I've really been diving in deep to the planets and where the planets are in my natal chart. So yeah. So I'm gonna start today with Aries. This is the kind of the first sign. The start of Aries is almost is kind of like the new year in astrology. So it kicks off spring, and if your birthday is between what is it, March 21st and April 19th, if it's somewhere in between there, you have Aries as your sun sign. So this will make a little bit more sense to you. Some people, your rising and your moon does affect, or all your planets affect your personality. So not every single person that has an Aries sun is going to be exactly the same. So we're starting with Aries again. First one, it rules the first house, so that's your house of self-identity, of your actual physical being. And so a lot of Aries, people that have strong Aries in them, will be very, very focused on what they look like and what is going on with their actual body. Aries is known as being the ram. And its ruling planet is Mars, which is a quick two-word summary of Mars is it's the planet of war and energy. So Mars is where you get your energy from. It is also the planet of war. A lot of people will almost make Aries out to be very argumentative or very combative. And yeah, that can be a way to classify Aries, but I personally like saying passionate. People who are Aries are extremely passionate about what they want. It's almost to the effect that I call it almost like a crusader complex. I say this, my mom is Aries. She won't let me look at her natal chart. She's not really into this type of thing, so I don't know her moon or her rising or anything like that, but she's Aries. She gets this idea in her head of that she needs to help someone, that there's a cause that she needs to go after, and that's a very Aries thing to do. To pick your cause and go after it and be very passionate about it. People who have a lot of Aries will be extremely, extremely passionate. Those who don't know, Aries is a fire sign. It's also its modality. It is the cardinal sign. If you have any more questions about modalities and elements, I do a video specifically on those. But basically, it's the first fire element. It's the primary one. It tends to be a little bit more stable, in my opinion. Aries are a little less likely to they're passionate, but they're less likely to fly off the handle. That being said, don't upset an Aries. Like I said, passion. I mean, you can call them combative, but they're not going to just jump off something on a whim. There is going to be a reason behind it. They're not quite as restless, I would say, as some of the other fire signs. They almost need like a noble goal, something that really, there's a real noble reason behind it. They need to have something very specific, or I don't know. I guess I'm trying to find another word for noble. but a cause that really makes sense, a cause that gives them distinction, I think is a good way to put it. They really want to have distinction. One thing I've noticed, I don't know if this is necessarily true, but all the Aries I know tend to be of smaller stature. They tend to almost have the Napoleon complex of being smaller, but being trying to be larger than life. So I don't know if that's necessarily true. Like I said, I do deal with Aries quite a bit in my mom. My sister is also an Aries rising. Passion again, just passionate. They're both very passionate people. My mom is much more of the, when she gets an idea in her head, she's going to go with it. And she's going to, when she has a cause, she's going to do everything she can to right that wrong. I do know, because I am I don't want to say victim, because I'm not a victim of her causes, but a lot of the times I'm the noble cause she's working towards. And my sister, she's very passionate, but I notice with her, the Aries comes out more as an emotional thing, and again, she picks a lot of very dignified things to do. And for example, she is a kindergarten teacher, and she's very, very good at her job. But in my opinion, that's a very noble career. It's a very, she has her cause, her children to help. So one of the things I read that I also felt was really helpful to me when I was learning about Aries was Aries, people who have a lot of Aries have this need to be self-confident. Like, they aren't necessarily self-confident because, you know, the world sucks and things don't always, it's not easy to be self-confident, ever. But they have this need to be. They need to feel self-confident, and they're going to do things to help them gain that self-confidence. They also have a need to lead. You're going to find a lot of Aries are the people in that group project that have to be the leader. And again, I'll remind you, they are a cardinal sign. Their modality is cardinal. And in my example of how I explain the modalities, cardinal signs are the party planners. They are the ones that decide what we're celebrating, when we're celebrating it, and what the theme is. So they do reach that. I guess the final thing I wanted to kind of talk about, just to bring in what's happening in the world right now and in the astrology right now. So as I do this video, the sun is in Aries. We have a couple other planets in Aries, actually. I think I can tell you exactly what's in Aries. So I'm going to talk about that. Yeah. Mercury is in Aries right now, the sun is in Aries, and Uranus is in Aries. So the sun is actually about to conjunct Uranus in about a week. That's going to be fun. It's going to be almost like a celebratory thing, and that's going to happen in Aries. So Mercury is in retrograde in Aries right now. That's how I feel about that. But the biggest thing is Chiron is about to enter Aries, and Chiron is interesting. So I don't know too much about Chiron. I am still really looking at that. Sorry, I wanted to. Oh, okay. Sorry, I had confused myself for a second about something with Chiron. The moon is actually going to be conjuncting Chiron in the last degrees of Pisces here coming up, which is going to be kind of a pain in the butt, not going to lie. But shortly after that, Chiron's going to enter Aries. And I did a little bit of research on that because it's very interesting. Chiron is the wounded planet. It's the wounded healer. Is kind of the myth and the philosophy, or myth behind Chiron. And it's going to enter Aries, which is going to be very interesting, especially since Aries, we're dealing with the first house again. Remember, we're dealing with this me first type of deal of self-identity, of worrying about our appearance, and things like that. And it's going to be in Aries for a little bit. It's actually going to retrograde back into Pisces and then go back into Aries. It's not leaving Aries till I think I saw 2025. But this is going to be a time that we can work on ourselves. We can heal our wounds. And a lot of it does depend on your personal house there as well. I believe it's going to be happening in my second. Yeah. But for most people, it's going to be a lot about healing your personal wounds that have been happening, healing your self-identity. There's going to be some uncomfortableness because there is a lot of people are going to be changing during this time. You're going to find your new self-identity. But it is going to be a better person. At least I hope so. I think so. So that's going to be happening in Aries. So that's all I wanted to cover. Just talking a little bit more about Aries. So next, I'm going to do these videos kind of right along the houses. I'm not sure how often I'll be able to get them out. I'm hoping to get them out more frequently, but I'm not going to lie, some of them are going to be a little harder for me. For example, when it comes time for Capricorn, that one I'll be able to talk for about 30 minutes about Capricorn, and I'll have that one written in like 2 minutes. But some of these are going to take a little longer for me to get out. But so just as a heads up, Taurus is going to be next. So I hope you learned something. I'm definitely going to be trying to do more of these educational videos. And just so you know, so on here I am Apprentice Fletcher. I am also starting another project. I'm the Drunk Astrologer on Facebook now. So you can find my page on Facebook. I'm going to be doing weekly horoscopes, talking about the transits, and giving my drink recommendations for the week. Give you a heads up on what's this week. So, peace. Apprentice Fletcher. Thanks for tuning in.